This game feels like somebody reached into my brain, found everything that I want in a game, and then made that game. If you have not heard of if you have not heard of Kingmakers yet, it's basically a massive, just medieval war game where you're not just some knight on a horseback, dude. You're a mercenary with modern weapons, modern vehicles, and it looks to be a vast selection that you can choose from. In this video, I am just going to be going over some info on the game that you might not know. I didn't know some of this until a few days ago, actually. I've been following this game pretty closely for the last couple of months, and yeah, like I said, even I didn't know some of the features I'm going to be sharing later on in this video. If at any point you enjoy this video, give me a like, subscribe if you feel like it. So let's get into it. One of the biggest selling points for me is the scale of the battles. I am a huge fan of Total War games and Mount & Blade, and I know that some of my subscribers are also fans of Mount & Blade. So of course, when I saw Kingmakers for the first time, I literally sat straight up, pointed at my monitor, and I said, yep, Kingmakers is going to have massive battles. We're talking thousands of dudes, big old dudes, clashing on the battlefield, full-on medieval sieges on both attack and defense, and massive skirmishes. But then just out of nowhere, oh dear, oh here he comes, you arrive on the battlefield armed to the teeth with assault rifles, grenades, shotguns, modern takes on medieval weapons like bows, and airstrikes, dude. Just as a funny side note, the perspective of the soldiers is probably absolutely terrifying. Just like pants shitting horror. It's probably like witnessing a biblical event. Imagine not knowing what a helicopter is and seeing one. Could you imagine? You'd probably get wide-eyed and drop like a hot, steamy turd in your pants. But back to the video. From what I've seen so far, it looks to be the perfect mix of historical warfare and modern firepower that just, I don't think it's explored ever in games. It's like every what-if scenario I've ever had while playing a medieval RPG, and it's finally being realized. From what we've seen so far, the gameplay just looks insane. You're not just a one-man army though, There's actual strategy involved. You are leading your own army, commanding troops, that sort of stuff. You can tip the scales of battle by calling in a freaking attack helicopter to wipe out an entire unit or something like an enemy stronghold. The way this game blends traditional medieval combat with modern tactics is just seamless, dude. Going off of this point though about strategy, I was really relieved to know that it's just not going to be a gimmick game. I think I speak for some other people, but when I first saw the trailer, I kind of thought to myself like, yeah, this is awesome, but I can see myself playing this, but it's also just like that game Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator, where it's kind of just mindless fun that you can have an hour every once in a while. I'm super happy that there's actually going to be different layers in this game, like leading an army and also base building. It's just a beautiful mix of chaos. Just watching the gameplay, it feels fresh and unpredictable. There's something so satisfying about the idea of storming a castle, mowing down knights with an M4, and then watching as trebuchets launch flaming boulders over you. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. The destruction in this game is another thing worth talking about. Based on the trailers, it looks like castles, buildings, walls, buildings. I already said buildings. Anyway, everything can be completely demolished. Like that alone changes how battles play out. You're not just fighting in a static environment, you're shaping it. Imagine trying to hold a fortress down only for an airstrike to blow a massive hole in the wall, forcing you to reposition and fight in the rubble. During the Future Games show that happened a few weeks ago, one of the devs working on Kingmakers also stated that the buildings will be fully navigable. That kind of dynamic battlefield, I think, is going to make a huge difference in how this game is played, as well as all the different variations of how a battle might play out. Probably one of my favorite things about this game is that the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows exactly what it is. It's a ridiculous, over-the-top medieval war sim where you're basically rewriting history with an arsenal of modern weaponry. I miss that level of self-awareness in games, and we need it more. We are in desperate need of games like that. The trailers kind of lead me to believe that instead of trying to justify everything with some convoluted like time travel plot, it just says, yeah, this is happening, have fun with it. And that's the kind of energy that I respect from this game. Now, obviously, as excited as I am, I do have questions like, how deep is the strategy? Is there a real progression system? Are there long-term goals that you can accomplish? Another thing I'm curious about is how the AI holds up. With battles on this scale, AI is kind of a make or break factor for a lot of people. If the enemy is just running at you like brainless NPCs, it could get really old really fast. But if they actually react to your tactics, use formation, and put up a fight, I think we're looking at something very special. Something that makes me feel better about that though is, from what I've seen, it looks promising. Some of the devs have even talked about how the AI is persistent and dynamic. I guess that means that they just don't pop into the game, rush you, and then fade away once they're dead. I've watched the trailers many times over just to analyze the way the AI reacts, and honestly, I'm a little bit mixed about it, you know? Like, some scenes, like this one, kind of just looks like a mosh pit at a metal concert. You know, there's no real order, and yeah, I understand it can get that way in real life probably, but I do feel a bit better because in other parts of the trailers, we can see that units are actually moving in formation. Cavalry seems to be doing flanking maneuvers. Archers seem to be shooting continuous volleys regardless if they hit friendlies or not. It's brutal. Either way, I cannot help, dude, but feel like this is just one of those dream games that comes out of nowhere and does not come often. It's kind of that thing you joke about with your friends, like, what if Total War had first-person shooter mechanics? And now it's actually happening. I love when developers like this take risks and they just go all in on one concept that feels completely unique. If Kingmakers develops on its potential, we might be looking at one of the most fun games in a long time. Just fun, straight up fun. But that's just my take, you know, my initial opinions. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, and thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like and comment maybe. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.